Last topic, we have a question from Patreon that I quickly want to ask you because you actually do have some insight into this team. It's from Keenan Anderson. Patreon questions, $5 a month. Sign up, feed producer Rudd, and support the channel. It's one of our favorite things when we see a new member join the community. And let's just continue talking football. So, for today's question we have, is Inter Milan being underrated in the Champions League? You just saw them play against Atletico Madrid, where they defeated Atletico Madrid at home at the San Siro. Do you think this Inter Milan team, in the grand scheme of things, is being underrated as a team that at one point was in the Champions League final and played a really tight, well-contested match against the best team in the world in Manchester City?
I think the answer is yeah. They're definitely being underrated because everywhere I look, Inter Milan's not really in the conversation of making a deep run semifinal appearance in the Champions League this version. As you just said, they had such a really good campaign last year. Now, maybe the road to get there was, a little easier than you'd like to see. But nonetheless, I think what really undoes that argument is how dominant they've been this season. They can't be caught in Serie A. They've been good in Serie A, but this might be their most impressive season, which I think is very telling considering they've been successful for several years now. If this is their best season, then I think that means a lot because they've been really good. Now you're telling me they're better? I think that's going to say a lot for Inter Milan. And honestly, they dominated Atletico.
Be careful with that now.
If you've seen Atletico, maybe it's not too surprising. I'm not surprised by that type of performance. From Atletico, but when you look at who else is in the Champions League, I mean, we can quickly kind of go through it real quick. Are they better than Atleti? I would say yes. Obviously, the game at the Metropolitano is going to be the decision. If they beat Atletico there, then they can handle any atmosphere. That'll get that answered. Are they better than Real Madrid? I would say they're at least on par. At the very least, if not maybe even a little bit better in the midfield and defensively. So already, okay, done. Spain, Inter Milan can beat Spain. You go to England, I'd say outside of Manchester City, and Arsenal could be really interesting. I think Inter Milan can honestly face them. They faced Manchester City in the final last year, and it was a very tight affair. We already have the proof that Inter Milan can perform against one of the best teams in the world. I think that's kind of checked out. Their defense has been so sturdy, but again, that midfield of Mkhitaryan, Nicolo Barella, they're so sturdy and they're so organized, but then they're also really good at getting the ball forward. I think they can play against pretty much anybody, man. You look at Germany, Bayern Munich?
Yeah.
I'm not even going to really consider them as contenders, bro. I'd put Inter Milan above them. And then Dortmund, same thing. Dortmund's a good team. I'm putting Inter Milan above Borussia Dortmund. Leverkusen's not in the Champions League this year, so we can't count that. So if you really look at it, Inter Milan might be one of the better teams remaining in the round of 16 in the Champions League. They have a tough test against Atletico on the road, but what they showed in the San Siro was very, very promising. Honestly, that's the biggest matchup I'm looking forward to in the round of 16, second leg. But Inter Milan, dude, they have an insanely stacked team. But not only that, every single player is on form for Inter. Every single one.
Yeah, I think there definitely is a case for them for being underrated. I definitely see why because of what they achieved and how good they're playing this year, having a top 5 player in the world with Lautaro Martinez playing out of his mind too. You add that in. There's a lot of factors to take into this Inter Milan side. But I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they're not being underrated. I think they're being properly rated this year because of one thing that you mentioned before. They did have a really easy run to the Champions League last year, man.
They did.
Let's remember that.
They
had
did.
a very easy run. If I remember correctly, they faced off against FC Porto in the round of 16. They faced off against Benfica in the quarterfinals. And then they get a San Siro derby matchup, an Italian derby matchup against AC Milan in the semis. Yeah. And in the grand scheme of things, a pretty easy run in the Champions League. And I think the reason they're properly rated now is because I think most people see them getting knocked out around the quarterfinal stage of this tournament. And be it the fact that they have now finally faced off against a team with more stature in the Champions League than those that I just mentioned right now in the modern world of football in Atletico Madrid. I think the fact that they only got a 1-0 result at home is actually a little disappointing. I don't think it's that impressive. Obviously, Atletico Madrid played that game very well from a defensive point of view and almost went out with the 0-0 tie. But I think it's on Inter Milan for not being able to be more impactful offensively. And now they got to go away from home into one of the most toughest territories to play in, which is in the Wanda Metropolitana, and get a result with Atletico coming at their necks. I actually have Atletico winning this matchup. I have them pulling it off, and I do have Inter Milan getting knocked out of the round of 16. So from my perspective, thinking that and predicting that, I think they're properly rated. If anything, I think they're overrated. No plan, I won't go there. But I do think they're properly rated, and if they beat Atletico, then I think they'll face off against a tough opponent in the quarterfinals, and we'll see them lose there. If they make it past that, then I'll definitely give my credit.
I'm skeptical about Atletico. I feel good that we get to host the second leg in the Metropolitano. Not worried about that. I know the atmosphere is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be deafening. If that San Siro was very frightening and terrifying to go to, we're going to give the exact same thing to our Italian visitors. It's not going to be easy. But Atletico have had a habit of not showing up in big games. I would say over the last couple of years, not even just this season. I don't doubt our ability to play against anybody. I think on any given day, Atletico could beat Manchester City, you know? Maybe not often, but if we're given the one chance, one game.
You beat Madrid twice this year, man.
No, for sure.
I agree.
Absolutely. But it's also a weird Madrid. It's not like a established, dominant Madrid. And even with that weirdness, they're still top of the table, right? For Atletico, I think there's too much uncertainty with this club right now as far as the personnel that we have, the talent that we have on the pitch. I just don't think it's certain. Antoine Griezmann has been phenomenal. He goes quiet in big games. He got completely shut out in Italy. Completely. He maybe had one forward pass, and that's his bread and butter. That's what he was diminished to because of the really good Italian defense. And then for the rest of Atletico, if Griezmann's not clicking, there is no way that the rest of Atletico is going to be able to knock the ball around. And so I think that's actually a huge point of contention here. And that's what I'm going to be looking for. If Inter Milan can shut out Atletico in Spain, they're going to go all the way to the semifinals and maybe even make another finals appearance because they'll show insane grit, a really good game plan, and they'll prove that every single player is in form.
Yeah,
like in top form.
Yeah.
For Atletico, again, there's always a chance. It's only 1-0. I'm not counting us out because we do have very talented players, but I'm just saying track record-wise, we just haven't been that good against big teams and big moments.
Okay, we'll find out then.
We'll find out. I'm very scared. I'm going to be completely... I am very, very scared about that game. I think about it probably daily, how that game is going to go. I hate that it's like 2.5 weeks away. It's so long. I want that game right now because I just need to know, can Atletico do it or is Inter Milan going to beat us again?